What is up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the MMA Show. As always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and go ahead and leave a comment, man. Let me know how you really feel. Let me know how you like the fights that we just had, UFC 302. It was okay, in my opinion. I think the card could have been a little bit better, but it is what it is. I always like UFC fights just because I like what I do when I watch them. I usually, have a few drinks, hang out, you know what I'm saying? Just, take the evening off and just kind of chill, just be at home. In this occasion, I did go out to a bar to watch the fights just because I didn't feel like buying the pay-per-view. So yeah, it was a pretty chill night. Not gonna lie. Let me know how you guys spent your evening. But anyways, we had some really decent fights. The prelims were okay. And then the main card, it didn't really get like fully fun until Nico Price and Alex Morono. That was a really good fight. It went the distance, and Nico Price ended up taking the dub. They put some money on Nico Price, so I did win some money right there. And I believe he was the underdog, so, made some good little money right there, man. So thank you so much, Nico. Then we had an amazing fight, Kevin Holland versus Michal. It was a crazy fight. I'm so happy for Kevin Holland. If you listened to my episode last week, I was saying how it would be tough if he loses this fight because this would be the second fight he loses in a row against unranked guys. And also, when I said that, I also did not know that this fight was at middleweight. I was under the impression that it would be at welterweight, but it is what it is. Even, the same rule stands because Mitchell was also unranked. So, still unranked, but just wrong division. So, I did not know it was a middleweight, but I'm glad that Kevin is getting a dub also at middleweight, because he's active in welter and middleweight. And if I remember correctly, when he fought Hamza, it was also at middleweight, or it was a catchweight a little bit higher. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's great, from Holland. And, listening to what Dana White had to say about Kevin, it sounds like he is a great asset overall for the company. Dana White was, singing his praises for Kevin. He's an entertaining guy. He always shows up. He always puts in a fight. And, also he gets dubs, which is the most important. So he's great on the mic. You know what I mean? I'm not sure right now if he's, at a level where he could be in the top 5. Unfortunately, he's had some losses in his career. I do hope that he's able to, build a path back up to a top 3 situation and then essentially fighting for the title. I think that would be really nice to see from Kevin Holland. But if you didn't watch the fight, it was great. Essentially, he got knocked down, which at that point I was worried. I was like, oh no, it's over. He got knocked down. Michal rushed for the ground and pound to try to finish the fight. And in that scramble, Kevin Holland did an amazing job at just grabbing the arm and pulling off a crazy submission arm bar. So, that is definitely stuff I like to see, especially because that's stuff that as guys, I know it's easier said than done, but all the time when someone's getting ground and pounded, I'm always like, it's there because it's there because they are being, they're showing weakness when they're kind of punching you. And if they miss, I don't know why guys never go for reach, to grab the arm to potentially put up an arm bar. I think that's something that should be done a little more. It's something that is there accessible during ground and pound. Like I said, obviously easier said than done. And, Kevin Holland is an absolute fucking animal. So he got it done. I believe it was round 1, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, round 1. Submission armbar. So, man, great job for Kevin. As far as what's next for him, I'm not sure. I think, it depends really if he is at middleweight or at welterweight. I think I didn't officially see him saying anything about that, if he wanted to be at a specific weight class. If you guys know, please let me know. Is he going to stay at middleweight, or is he going to be bouncing up and down between middle and welter? Because at welter, he's got some great possibilities. You know what I mean? I mean, he is ranked in the welterweight division. I don't know if he's going to be ranked in the middleweight. After this fight, I doubt it because Michel was not in the division. So I really don't think he's going to be ranked. But there are fun fights at both divisions. And that's the thing that, once a fighter opens their horizons, and it's in a multiple divisions, they have obviously the more options, you know what I mean, than being in just one division. So pretty obvious there. But there is fun matches at both. Obviously, we have in the welterweight division, I would like to see him, he already fought Wonder Boy. I don't know, has he fought Sean Brady? We have Ian Gary there too, who's going to fight pretty soon. You have Gilbert Burns. All of those could be potential fun fights at welterweight. But if he does decide to continue to go at middleweight, then there's also other fights too. Marvin Vettori, I think, will be an amazing fight for Kevin. I don't know, Michelle Pereira, that will also be a great fight. Guy's crazy. I think that would be a great fight for just stylistically, a fun show on the octagon. I mean, like Michelle always comes out with some crazy unorthodox shit. He'd be doing backflips and shit. So, would definitely be a fun fight. So yeah, that was definitely a good fight. Shout out to Kevin for getting the dub, man. And then we had a fight that I will hate to say that I kind of guessed how it was going to turn out. You know what I mean? I completely said that this fight was going to go either one or two ways. It was going to be a quick KO, hopefully, right, by Sean, kind of the way he almost KO'd Izzy in the first round. Or I said, if it's not that, it's unfortunately going to be for lack of better words, a boring fight, because I don't want to call the fight boring, because it was, technically it was really high fight, stylistically speaking, but it was just not packed with many action, Sean did say that it was mainly because Paulo was just not wanting to engage. And not that I blame it all on Paulo, but I think Sean could have definitely, tried a little more and try to push a little more, engage a little more. Sean is famous for just pressing forward and keeping people on their back foot, and pressing forward and getting a finish if needed. So the fact that he didn't do that this fight, it was you never know what's really going on with some guys, you know what I mean? But hey, at the end of the day, Sean got the dub by decision, which is kind of what I predicted as well. So there we go, another point for me. Paulo just unfortunately did not, never woke up for the fight. He never really got going. That's something you hear a lot. The guys just don't get going. They just don't find the rhythm. They just cannot find an entry. They cannot find a way to just kind of connect and get some combos going, and part of that is also because Sean, like I already said, last episode, he's a great defensive striker. He has crazy awkward defense. So maybe he's doing shit that is kind of hard to see, you know what I mean? But us as watchers, it's kind of hard to see. But maybe he's doing shit that's preventing Paulo from getting going. I also thought Sean could have just, like I said, pressed a little more on the offense and go a little more forward, but unfortunately he didn't. But yeah, I also talked about, last week how it depended a lot on also what kind of version of Paulo Costa we were going to get. And unfortunately, we didn't get a good version, you know what I mean? And it's unfortunate to say, because I don't think we're ever going to see that good version. I think the Paulo Costa that, fought Robert Whittaker, that got him the title shot with Izzy, like that Paulo Costa unfortunately is gone. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the weight cut. At one point he did look kind of good when he fought Vettori, and he was a little heavier. Naturally he is a really big guy. So I don't know if that's what it is. I don't know. It's not really age, because he's not that old anymore. Not anymore. He's not that really old, so it's kind of tough to see. Maybe he just, Dana White said it himself. He said since the Izzy fight, or I think it was Joe Rogan, that since the Izzy fight, he just hasn't been the same, and it's tough. I don't know if it's a mental issue where he just, cannot, do what he knows he needs to do. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's obviously, I'm not a fighter, so I can't really speak to what he could be going through, you know what I mean, on his mind. And, mentally he seems fine. He doesn't seem like a dude that's been struggling mentally or anything like that. But again, you never know, right? He could be having some issues on its own. Or, is it just a question of maybe he's just not that great of a fighter anymore? You know what I mean? Maybe at one point he was, and now maybe he is just, he lost the touch, he lost the whatever it is you want to say that gave us the Paulo Costa when he was Paulo Costa. He was coming up. He was a scary guy in the division. I will say, ever since he got his hair transplant, I don't think it's been the same. I think maybe that had a part to do with it. If he definitely had a hair transplant, you can totally see his hairline. You know what I mean? So hey, do what you gotta do, man. If you're going bald and you got the money, sure, why not get a hair transplant? It might completely take away your striking skills, but it is what it is. Another thing I talked about in this fight was I told these two guys, hey guys, I'm your coach. Listen to me, okay? Give me a little more output as far as elbows, as far as knees, as far as kicks, head kicks, and as far as wrestling and grappling, right? Like, utilize your entire tool. This fight was extremely boxing heavy. Like, I don't even know I even saw a shoot. Nobody shot for anything, right? Nobody shot for a takedown or nothing. I could be wrong. Maybe there was like one or two, but there was absolutely nothing. And it's unfortunate because, for example, Paulo has amazing jiu-jitsu. So the fact that Paulo didn't look for the takedown once he couldn't get going on the feet, it blows my mind. And then, just to show you that I know what the fuck I'm talking about, Sean Strickland in the interview, in the post press conference, said how his team, his corner, was telling him, throw more kicks, throw more knees, right? And even Sean himself said, I threw one that landed, and I was like, oh shit, I should listen to my team more. So yeah, by team he means me. So Sean, I want 10%. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, it's MMA, so obviously it's pretty basic when I say like, hey, mix it up a little more. But I said that specifically because I know that these guys are going to be boxing heavy, but they don't have to be. Like I said, Sean is an amazing wrestler. He just never uses it. And Paulo is an amazing grappler. He just never uses it. So this fight could have been a little bit more entertaining, And maybe both of these guys are, especially Sean. I know he is under the impression that like, if I fight like Khabib or like Islam, they're going to consider me a boring fighter. Like, he is under the impression that he has to knock guys out or he has to be knocked out. He's under that impression, right? No, man, obviously we'll talk about the next fight. It went also to decision. Oh, wait, no, never mind. Sorry. It went to the fifth round. Almost to decision, but it was obviously a longer fight. But it was hella entertaining. Why? Because it was a mix-up, bro. We saw a little bit of everything, you know what I mean? And it was more, obviously, grappling and wrestling involved because of Islam, and Dustin had a great defense. We'll talk about it. But yes, I mean, it makes for a way more interesting fight. You know what I mean? I think we're past the era of casuals saying, oh, what, just because this guy's wrestling, it's boring. Or just, oh, this guy's just trying to look for a submission, that's boring. I want to see knockouts. I want to see, people getting knocked the fuck out and unconscious. Like, I think we're past that point. I think we're at a point in the sport where most of the fans appreciate a good technical wrestling match, you know what I mean? As well as a submission match. Obviously, there's a fucking fly in here. Obviously, don't make it the whole fight. Like I said, just mix it up. And I think Sean understood that, obviously, too late, you know what I mean? And Paulo just doesn't understand it, unfortunately. So, it is tough. As far as Sean goes, what's next for him, he did say that he was going to wait until, he didn't have any specific call outs or anything like that. He said he was going to wait until the UFC had something for him. He does say that, obviously, he does want the gold, right? So I think he's meaning, hey, I'll fight DDP for the gold if you want me to. Or if you want to do DDP and Izzy and then I fight the winner of that, like, I'm happy with that. He did say he's happy with anything, but I think he is going to just wait to fight for gold. I don't think he's going to fight another number one contender fight. You know what I mean? At least that's what he alluded to on his interview. That's always not up to him. Sometimes if the UFC wants him to fight another person that's, ranked a little lower, you know what I mean? I mean, they could, if they throw enough money at him, or kind of depends, but he seemed pretty adamant about wanting the title. So, what I talked about last week as well, if you haven't watched the video, go ahead and watch that, is that I talked about how in a month we have another top, high level fight in this same middleweight division, right? We have Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev, which should be also a number one contender fight. So, and I talked about what, if I was Izzy, I'm probably going to just wait until these two fights played out, right? So now we saw what happened with Sean and Paulo. If I'm Izzy watching that fight, I'm saying, all right, against that Paulo Costa or against that Sean Strickland, I could probably do good. You know what I mean? But if I'm Izzy, if I'm the UFC, I'm not making any decisions right now as far as the titles. Like, I'm not offering DDP or Sean any title shots until we see what happens with Robert Whittaker and with Khamzat Chimaev. Once we're able to see that and see what those guys can do, and if one of them can win in a spectacular fashion, you know what I mean? Come out. I'm telling you right now, if Khamzat comes out and submits or knocks out Robert Whittaker in round 1 or 2, he's getting a fucking title shot. 1,100%. 1,000,000%. That is a fact, bro. I'll tell you that right now. It's just, when you look at him and the level of hype he's going to bring versus Sean Strickland, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, he's popular, but they say you're only as good as your last fight. And look what happened in Sean Strickland, his last fight. I mean, it was okay. You know what I mean? It was an okay fight. And then before that, he lost. Very split decision. And obviously, people thought he won. I thought he won the fight. But hey, on the record, it's an L. So, at the end of the day, the UFC just want to make money and want to put the biggest star if possible for the title. And I think that would be Khamzat if he's able to finish Robert, or the other way around. If Robert finishes Khamzat, that's also a crazy fucking accomplishment that no one hasn't done. You know what I mean? Now, the question is, if that fight also goes to a 5-round decision that's a little bit boring, you know what I mean? Like, then who's next, right? That's where I think Izzy comes in place. I think if none of these guys wow Dana, right? Like, hey, it's almost like saying, like, hey, this is tryouts, right? And we're giving you guys your shot to wow us. We have Izzy ready to go, you know what I mean? I don't know if he's ready to go, but I'm assuming he took some time off. It's been long enough. I'm assuming he can come back now anytime. Definitely this year. I don't think he waits for for 2025. But Dana's like, hey, okay, I have Izzy locked and loaded, ready to go. But just hold on a second. I want to see, because Izzy has had this division, tied up for a while. That's what happens when we have a dominant champion. It's not his fault. He just kept winning. But he's had this division tied up for a while. So now he said, okay, now that Izzy is taking a break, let's see this division play out a little bit. And I like that we got some really high-level fights to see some of that, right? How things play out. So this is kind of like their tryouts. And obviously, if they do good, if one of them excels, then he gets a shot. Because that's what you want. You want to keep bringing, fresh new blood to the top of the division, right? You can't just keep rotating the same guys over and over. You know what I mean? We already had Sean Strickland. We already had Paulo Costa there for a while. We already had, Robert there forever. So you got to bring some new guys in. You know what I mean? And a lot of these guys are guys that are getting second chances, like Paulo, like Robert, multiple chances at a championship. You know what I mean? So if you guys keep losing, it's tough. It's tough to say, but it's time for new blood. Let the number 10 guy fucking get a shot. Let the number 7 guy get a shot. So that's what they're doing with Khamzat. Even though Khamzat is massive and he's popular, he's ranked number 10. So yeah, for Sean Strickland, I think he's just gonna have to wait and see what happens. I think maybe he takes like a few months off. That might be good. You know what I mean? And although he didn't really take any damage, like I said, he doesn't have to take this time off. Like, he definitely could fight again in the next 2 to 3 months if he wanted to. But again, he doesn't want to, because he is dead set on just fighting for the gold. And as he should be. I mean, if you're a champ and you lose a really close split decision, you might be thinking like, well, I gotta get to it again really fast. I don't need to go and fight 3-4 times to prove that I can get another title shot. Like, no. So I understand where he's coming from. So I hope that he does, get a title shot pretty soon. I mean, I wouldn't mind, between before all of this gets figured out, like I wouldn't mind a rematch versus DDP and Sean. You know what I mean? Especially since Dana White himself said that he thought Sean Strickland won the fight. So, I think that would be a good rematch to do. So why not? Let's do it. Kill some time. Give us some more fights. Come on. Come on, Uncle Dana. And lastly, we have our main event of the evening. Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. Obviously, Islam ended up getting the dub by submitting Dustin in the last round, in the 5th round. However, it was a very, very good fight. I will say that it was a very competitive fight. Everybody, including, I'm not going to lie, including a little bit of myself, everybody was kind of counting Dustin out and how, Islam was going to submit him in the first 2 rounds or something like that. And I didn't say that's what's going to happen, but I did say, obviously, that's Islam's forte. And obviously, we've seen that before with Dustin. He got submitted against Khabib. He got submitted against Charles, so it happens, man. Anyways. And then, obviously, most recently getting knocked out by Justin Gaethje. So I was just not sure, you know what I mean? But Dustin showed that he definitely improved his wrestling defense. You know what I mean? He drilled it and drilled it and drilled it during this camp because Islam was having issues getting him down, man. Dustin, the takedown defense was really, really good. First round got taken down, unfortunately, but, the defense was great enough to where he just survived the round and didn't get submitted. And I always hate to see guys in this position, man, because especially Dustin, it happened against Charles too, where you get taken down in the middle of the round. You got 2-3 minutes to go and, you're just surviving. Like you're not getting a chance to get going. You know what I mean? If that fight would have been on the feed, you know what I mean? It definitely benefits Dustin a little more. But the fact that he has Islam on his back, and he's just defending submission after submission after submission. And, it's just not tough. And then you're focusing your entire energy on defending that and on hopefully getting up. So I think he said this a little bit too against the Charles fight. He said, like, at one point, I just kind of cut my losses and I say, okay, well, I'm not going to waste energy in getting up. I'm just going to stay down here, ride out the round, and hopefully not get submitted, and just, we'll be back on our feet the next round. That's good and all, but yeah, you do get, run the risk of getting submitted against Islam, and it's risky to do that on the first round, especially because you're very dry. You're not very wet just yet. You're not sweaty yet. So it's very easy for Islam to, if he does catch a submission, it's harder to get out of because you are not slippery. If if it's round 4 or 5, you get wet, you're a little bit easier to get out. I mean, didn't work because he got submitted in the last round, you know what I mean? But anyways, you get the drift. You're dry. So if you get caught with a good submission, it's tougher to get out of. But he didn't let it go that far. Luckily, I will say every time I'm watching that exchange and I'm like, he's just kind of going like this just to not give up his neck. It's kind of tough to see, man, because in a way it feels like Islam is kind of letting him do it. Like in a sense, is Islam like saying like, all right, let me just, that's round 1. Let's figure it out. You know what I mean? I don't think Islam is the type of guy to do that, like to play with his food the way other fighters have done it, like John Jones or Anderson Silva. You would think that this, Muslim, Dagestani mentality is like, no, just get the dub and that's it, right? So I don't think that's what he's doing, but I'm just not sure. To me, it looked like that a little bit. I don't know, you know what I mean? I could be wrong, but at the end of the fight and the interview, Islam did say that he was trying to submit him, but who knows? He could be lying, But yeah, I think where Dustin excelled was definitely in his takedown defense, Round 2, round 3, round 4, there was definitely not as many takedowns because Islam was shooting for them and Dustin was ready for them. You know what I mean? I think he definitely improved that aspect of his, fighting to where he wasn't taken down as much. You know what I mean? I would almost be willing to say he got taken down less than Volk. Maybe I have to look at that stat, but he got taken down less than Volk, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, Volk didn't get submitted by Islam, but, it is what it is. And then, 5th round. And then I know another thing is that, the whole judging throughout the whole night was a little bit sketchy. But I heard something that 2 judges had a 2-2 going to the 5th round, which gave Dustin a chance to be champ. Like, who knows, if he goes out there and puts on a good fifth round, we could have had a new champ, man. We could have had Islam dethroned. You know what I mean? And I think that's wrong. I think had it like more like 3-1 going into the fifth. But the judging was just sketchy the entire card. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Anyways, as far as what's next for these guys, Dustin did come out and say that he is potentially going to be retiring, which it's not a terrible idea. You know what I mean? It is, unfortunate to see a legend walk out. He didn't confirm anything. He didn't say it was 100%, but he did say that most likely that is what it is, man. And it sucks, because he looked competitive, you know what I mean? And before that, he did defeat a young up-and-coming guy in Benoit Saint-Denis. So he's showing that he still belongs there and he's able to compete at the top, at the very, very top of the division, Listen, man, I don't care what anybody says. Give Dustin a few more, 2 to 3 minutes of that entire fight on the feet, landing combos, and he probably could have done something more and be champion, The fact that Islam struggles so much with Dustin, it's crazy, you know what I mean? And like I said, it just shows that Dustin is able to compete and he is not really getting old to the point where he can't compete anymore. That's not the case here. But his whole reason for retiring is because he doesn't feel like he wants to, go up the ladder again for a title shot. You know what I mean? He's lost, 3 title shots, I think. He won the interim against Max. He lost to Khabib. He lost to Charles. I think that's it, right? So this is third. I want to say this is third, or there could have been one more maybe, but this is his third chance at getting gold. And then he also lost the BMF title. If you count that a little bit, then it's been 4, if you count it as a championship. But yeah, that's his main reason. He doesn't want to go up the ladder one more time. If I'm him, you know what I mean? I take it this way. You know what I mean? I lost 2 fights ago in a fight for a title shot. As long as you're a little bit active and you're showing that you still can be at least in the top 5, I think more sooner than later you're going to get a title shot. I think that's the way the UFC kind of works. I don't think, because before this title shot, he didn't go on a crazy winning streak. So I don't know why he's saying that he probably has to go up the ladder again or he doesn't want to do it again. Like, at the most, just win one more fight and I think you get another title shot. Maybe not right away, you know what I mean? But if you defeat another guy in the top 5, you know what I mean, or in the top 10, then you could probably get a title shot. And I mean, looking at the rankings right now, there's a lot of good opportunities there. There could be a Charles Oliveira rematch. That might be a good option for Dustin. Although, if you're in your last legs of your career, I don't know if you want to fight Charles Oliveira. That guy is a fucking destroyer. I mean, he did defeat Dustin, not easily, but, in a really spectacular fashion. Well, they do have Max Holloway ranked in the top 9 of the lightweight as well. So, what the fuck, man? That could be a possibility. You have other guys coming up like Moicano, Jalen Turner. So, those could potentially be some fun matchups for Dustin, man. I mean, again, if he defeats another guy that's in the top 10 with a big-ish name like Moicano or something like that, or Max Holloway, if he defeats Max Holloway for the BMF, of course you might get a title shot. You know what I mean? That might be awesome. And again, more and more people now are considering the BMF like a championship. So that could be, cross that off your list, of champions-esque. You know what I mean? So if I'm Dustin, man, maybe give it some time to think about it, obviously. However, if he does retire, great for him. He had an amazing career, fought everybody in the division, defeated a lot of top contenders and had a great career overall. Never got to be champion. He did get to be interim champion, if that counts for anything, but I know guys definitely want that champ status. And unfortunately, Dustin is one of those guys that, we know he's a fucking legend and we know he is an absolute stud. Ever since he took that fight with Benoit on the knee, I mean, he showed everybody that he's a fucking stud. He said it himself, man. If you're not fighting, if you're not defending your spot in the rankings, you shouldn't be there, right? And that's what he did. And I think that's what he should do again, I mean, he's ranked number 4 right now, but after this, he might change his rankings. Maybe he goes to like 5 or 6. Fight one more time, just one more time. And I guarantee you, if there's some sort of injury, if there's some sort of weight missed, if there's some sort of reason why anybody couldn't make a title shot, I guarantee you Dustin is a perfect candidate for a last-minute replacement for a title shot, or potentially just in general, just a title shot if maybe the picture is not as clear. You know what I mean? Wait, if you fight again one more time, wait 8, it was a great fight against Islam, so maybe take some time off. Take 8 months, right? Fight again, have like a 3-month camp, fight, and then wait another 6 months, right? I guarantee you there might be a chance that a title shot might be in the picture, and it could potentially save you from retiring. Like, I just don't think he has to go up the queue again like he is thinking. Like I already said, look at his 2 fights before, he lost. You know what I mean? And 2 fights before that, he did lose. So it's not like he got this title shot because he wasn't on a crazy winning streak. The one thing we know about Dustin Poirier, too, is that in his career, we've never seen him lose twice in a row. He always bounces back. So if you bounce back again, you win again against another top lightweight contender that with the big-ish names, you're still right there, baby. You don't have to go back up the queue. You know what I mean? One fight at the very, very least, at the very, very max, I would say 2 fights for a title shot for Dustin Poirier. So, hey, man, I'm not anybody to tell, to retire or not. I'm just a huge fan of the guy, and I would just hate to not see him fight anymore, but that's just my own personal, selfish reasons. However, the man has a beautiful family, and the man has a beautiful, beautiful resume put together throughout his career. So if he does decide to retire, then, I do nothing but clap for the guy and cheer him on and wish him best, wish him the best on whatever he wants to do. I know he's kind of set up, right? He fought Conor twice. He has a couple of businesses. He has a hot sauce. So financially speaking, I think he's fine, And then as far as Islam goes and what's next for him, before I talk about Islam, let me talk about Dustin for a little more. If he does choose to maybe not retire, but maybe not, fight for the title, there's always the possibility of big money fights, right? You have Conor coming back. You have a potential Colby Covington fight there. There's a little bit of, back and forth shit talking there that you could have. Like I already said, there's a Max Holloway rematch. That'd be great. A Justin Gage trilogy might not be terrible since they're also 1-1. Dustin has a lot of, I think, opportunities for him, either at, lightweight or at welterweight. Like I said, there is Colby and stuff like that, so that might be a good option, right? But at lightweight, he definitely has a Max Holloway rematch. That would be a perfect fight that I would watch any day of the fucking year. And then another Justin Gage rematch because they're 1-1. Potential Conor rematch since the last fight technically was, finished because Conor broke his leg, so it wasn't like nobody won really. So yeah, he does have great fights there still that could potentially make him a lot more richer. And I know he did say that he, putting money fights together was not going to be his thing, but you never know, man. Once the UFC throws a number at you, you never fucking know. So that's the last thing I had to say for Dustin. I would love to see, I think the one that makes more sense is Colby, really. I think, Colby is the one that makes more sense right now. If Conor defeats Chandler, that could be a possibility. And then another possibility that could happen right now, or not right now, but obviously in the next few months, is Holloway, because Holloway just fought. But then again, it depends on what Holloway wants to do, if he wants to fight Ilia Topuria. So yeah, I already broke all that down, by the way, a couple of videos ago. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. But yeah, as far as Islam goes, and still, still the champ. Obviously, an amazing fighter. I always talk shit on the Dagestanians and on the, their way of fighting, but Islam, it's a little different, right? Islam doesn't just go for the kill right away with the choke. Like I said earlier, I think Islam really had an issue of figuring out Poirier. I don't think he was mainly playing with his food. That's not what I would say, at least. But he mixes it up, man. He definitely also tried to stand and bang with Poirier, which is crazy because a lot of guys, just the same way people were saying, if Islam takes you down, you're done, it's finished, right? People were also saying, if you stand and bang with Dustin Poirier, you're going to get knocked out, right? So he heard that, and, he took it upon himself to say, all right, let me stand and bang with this guy. And that's exactly what he did. He was, I think outstroked Dustin, if I'm not mistaken. Overall, the guy is a super well-rounded fighter. Obviously the best lightweight in the world right now, and obviously the number one pound for pound right now. Although according to Dana White, he's not. Dana White made very clear that Islam is not the pound for pound. He was praising almost in a weird, awkward way, John Jones. He turned all red. He was like, John Jones is the best fighter in the world, not Islam. No, he didn't sound like that. But he did get a little bit, not emotional, but, he kind of switched his mood a little bit, him and John Jones probably known each other for a while. They probably know each other on a more personal level. Obviously, he doesn't approve of anything that John Jones has ever done, but in his mind, Islam does have a loss in his record, and John Jones is undefeated. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the one thing that you look at. Sure. Another thing I don't get about the pound for pound is like, yeah, Dana White said it this, like, throw any guy in a room with anyone in the world, and that guy comes out alive 100% of the time. That's the pound for pound. That's John Jones, right? And I know it doesn't work this way, but my question is like, okay, well, what would happen if you throw Islam in a room with John Jones, right? I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. I think John Jones beats the fuck out of Islam every time, but obviously there's a major weight advantage, John Jones is a heavyweight, way over 230 probably. And Islam is a lightweight, over 150, so damn near 100 pounds over. Obviously, that's a disadvantage. Not saying that Islam couldn't win, because he technically could. They do this at jiu-jitsu all the time. They do have guys fight at a higher weight class, because in jiu-jitsu, that doesn't matter as much. If you're technical in jiu-jitsu and know what you're doing, you can, submit a guy that weighs way more than you. But as far as striking goes and wrestling, there is an obvious, weight advantage. So I'm not saying that they should fight each other, but I'm just saying that the whole pound for pound makes no sense to me. I just kind of rather see the rankings, but hey, we have it. In my opinion, it is John Jones. However, Islam has been more active. But when you see John Jones fight and you see the entirety of his game, obviously not as much when he fought Cyril Gane, you know what I mean? But if you count his entire career, the way he utilizes his entire tool set, like I was talking last week too, so if you haven't seen that, please go check it out. But the way I was saying is how somebody utilizes their entire tool set, their striking, their boxing, their kickboxing, their wrestling, their grappling, their jiu-jitsu, and then whatever other karate or any other discipline that they like to do, then great. But John Jones is the one guy that utilizes everything at his best. So in my opinion, he is the pound for pound, right? Islam is probably the best right now, especially since he did defeat Volk twice. That counts for something as well. Volk being a different weight class as well, even though it's lower, it is a different weight class, so that also counts for something towards the pound for pound. But yeah, as far as Islam goes, he also has expressed interest in going up, and challenging for the belt at welterweight. And that might not be a terrible idea. You're going to have here pretty soon Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. That should give us some answers on how that division is going to move, forward. But the Islam, I don't know, man. At first I didn't like that he was saying that, because technically he hasn't defended the lightweight title that much, right? I mean, technically he's only fought 2 lightweights because he fought Volk twice, who's not a lightweight. So it was a lightweight. So he has. If you want to count them all, which sure, let's fucking do it. Then he's got 4 title defenses. Okay, in my opinion, that is good enough, right? He was calling from this since the beginning, man. All right, since he defeated Charles, and at that point, I was like, no, hold your horses down, defend the title, and he has done that. So I don't see why he couldn't do Islam versus the winner of Leon and Bilal. The other reason why the UFC might be a little bit hesitant, and Dana he was definitely a little bit hesitant when asked about this, it's because it definitely slows down the entirety of the division. You know what I mean? If you have another body coming in, fighting for that title, then it's kind of slows down that division. Especially at welterweight, that right now we don't have that many candidates for a title shot. You have Kamaru Usman, who's still ranked number 1. I'm looking at the rankings right now. I don't know what he's doing, though. I don't know if he's training, if he's been active. He hasn't, ever since he fought Hamzat, he hasn't been, doing much. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with him. But he's always there. He's always a candidate. And then you also have Ian Gary fighting here pretty soon. That should also give us a new contender, depending on who wins that fight, You have JDM right there, And then you have, I always forget about this guy, but he's right there. And I feel like, you know what? I take it back what I say. There is a clear candidate for a fight at welterweight for championship status, and that's Shavkat Rakhmonov. That guy is probably going to defeat everyone. Now, a crazy, crazy fight would be Shavkat versus Islam. That would be an amazing fight. If Shavkat is able to get the title, his first defense be against Islam, that would be amazing. But that's crazy because Shavkat is way big. Shavkat is huge, bro. I don't know how that would even happen. A lot of these guys are huge too. Like Leon is fucking huge too, man. So I don't know how Islam is going to do. And Islam is a big lightweight, you know what I mean? But when you're going against a big welterweight, like that's crazy. Someone like Colby makes sense, a little bit of a smaller guy, you know what I mean? Not so huge. JDM is also a little bit smaller. But man, you're talking about, Shavkat and Leon and Kamaru. I mean, those guys are massive, bro. Massive. So yeah, hopefully, let's see if we see that. Maybe not. But at lightweight, he definitely has a few options too. He has the clear one is Arman Tsarukyan, who did defeat Charles Oliveira for what I thought was a number 1 contender fight. So there is a clear fight to make right now in lightweight, and I think that's what they're going to put together because it makes sense. There's nobody really else. You have Chandler fighting Conor, Dustin Poirier just lost, Justin Gaethje just got knocked out terribly. You do have Max Holloway there also in the picture with the BMF title, you know what I mean? So, and you have other guys that haven't fought in a while but could be contenders like Dariush, like Fiziev. So those guys are always there, and like I said earlier, Moicano. I think Moicano gets one more win, in the division against a top 5, top 7 dude. He could potentially do something right there. Moicano versus Dariush might not be a good, might be a good fight. It might not be a terrible idea for a really, really, getting a crack at the top 5, I don't even know if a lot of these guys are booked also, by the way. I'm just kind of talking out of my ass. I'm not sure who has a fight booked or not at lightweight. So sorry if Renato or Fiziev already have a fight booked. I apologize. But yeah, that is it for this UFC 302 breakdown, recap, whatever you want to call it. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate you listening every week. As always, don't forget, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, man. Did anything I just said make sense to you? Like, do I know what the fuck I'm talking about a little bit? Should I just fucking shut the fuck up? Please let me know. Anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and week. Peace.